So Einstein once said, if you can't explain it to a 5-year-old, you don't understand it well enough yourself. And I think the reason behind that is it comes down to Occam's razor, which lots of people misquote, but it's a really lovely analogy, and the misquote is that, let me just make sure I get this right, to explain something in the simplest way possible, but no simpler than it has to be, i.e. making it the youngest reading level, the shortest, the most concise, without removing any of the context which is important for what you're discussing or required. That's the misquote, but it's really useful in day to day, and it definitely makes up part of our core values and the way in which I specifically live my life, distilling things down into what's the actual important key takeaway, because that's generally the only little nugget you need to remember and use. Now, Occam's razor is actually something different. It's actually to do with scientific experimentation, and say that the simplest explanation is usually the most likely. That's actually what it means, or was his razor. And the reason it's called Occam's razor is because it cuts away, quite funny, cuts away all other options and leaves only the simplest. And funnily enough, Occam lived in Ockham, which is about 20 minutes from me by bike, or a 10 to 15 minute car journey. Where I grew up anyway, it's quite a funny one, but it's worldwide known. And the reason I wanted to talk about it today is because I believe simplicity, especially for business, is definitely the best approach when figuring out where to start in your business journey, and what business to go after. And the reason for that simply comes down to business in itself is complicated. There are so many exceptions and difficulties that arise throughout the process of dealing with people, or unique scenarios, or odd occasions and stuff like this, that having a product or a service that in itself is complicated will likely add friction in your journey to making it successful. So our business, to be super clear and transparent and precise and concise, is we only serve students who are taking their GCSE maths examination within the next 2 years that could attend mainstream schooling. That's our ICP, that's our avatar. Now, we only serve for the one exam. It is taken in many countries, mostly in the UK, but we only do one subject, and most tutors, and we come from a tutoring background, most tutors will do 3 to 5 subjects across probably on average 3 different age ranges. So like key stage 1, 2, 3, or exam, or A levels, or degree level. And it's all well and good, and it's probably one of the biggest pieces of feedback we get from parents. It's like, this is amazing, please can you help us with English, with science, with geography? And the answer is no. There's a reason we're the best in the country, that we get 7 times the national average result for half the cost. And it's due to that specialization. And along that same thought process, it's the reason our onboarding and our sales process is so simple. We run meta ads to people who are interested with an offer that's so good that they'd feel stupid saying no. We call them to check, can we help you? If yes, we book them in for a video call with the child, because the parent doesn't know anything that's happening with their child. And then we say, cool, this is your problem, this is what our service is, would you like to go ahead? Essentially. But that's the whole sales process. Now what's funny is how simple that is, transferring it to new salespeople that join the team. We've had to create a 20-hour training, and usually it takes about 3 weeks of full-time work, so about 120 hours on top of that, for people to come to terms with that very simple process. Now, 140 hours of something that is exceptionally simple form comes in, call them, hey, are you the right year group? Yes, tell me why you got some problems. Okay, cool. So the next call is this. See you then. Hey, so, hi Jimmy, nice to meet you. What would you like to do outside of school? Oh, this is your problem, this is your problem. Great. Would it be good to have this and this? Awesome. Here's what we do. Does that sound like it's going to work for you? Awesome. Let's get you started. That takes 140 hours to transfer. And so if you had a product that was actually complicated, I couldn't imagine how long it would take. And so my takeaway from this, and this whole journey of trying to teach people and expand the sales team and replicate the process that we can do, and this third real business that we have made, is that simplicity is better. Which is why Occam's Razor is one of our core values, or rather, efficiency is one of our core values in communication, specifically keeping it concise but accurate. And so that's kind of my takeaway. Distill, especially in business, everything you can down to the simplest possible explanation you have of it. Hormozi will bring this down to all advertising he puts through and requires to have an under grade 5, so like under a 10-year-old's reading ability, because he has noticed an increase in click-through rates and conversions based on that, because it is cool sounding smart. Like, I love hanging out with smart people and using very specific words. If there are 5 different words that could all mean the same thing to a foreigner, I like to use a specific one for a specific meaning that it's slightly different to the other 4. And it's fun to do that and to have a real in-depth conversation with someone of the same level of vocabulary, because it's so much more expressive, because the nuance between the words is so important for the message being conveyed. The issue with that is when the other person reading or you're communicating with doesn't have the same understanding or definitions that you do in your brain, the sentence you just said has a different meaning. And so using this frame, this idea of make things simpler, you will also increase clarity. 1, for yourself as to what it is that you actually deliver and offer, but 2, for them to actually understand what it is you're trying to communicate. And so I think it's a really good idea to also, when you've had a discussion, to check in and summarize. Now in sales we call this labeling. Labeling's actually a couple of different things, but I like to use it in this context of saying, like, label in the scenario of, hey, from what we've just discussed, please correct me, this is what I've taken away from it. Short summary, did I understand that correctly? And if they say yes, you make them feel heard, which is awesome, and you have also clarified that you're both on the same page. And what will happen about half the time is they go, oh, almost, actually, this is a slight tweak, and you'll be like, ah, that changes everything. Especially if you're the person in a position of authority who would make recommendations based on circumstances or parameters, that if they then change based on an alteration of a definition, your suggestions and the roadmap you might present to them might change as well. So communication is outrageously important, and simplicity is best, and that's why I love the misquoted side of Occam's Razor. Yeah, this was a really fun one for me to talk through. I love breaking down the world to really understand what it is you're looking at. And I hope you enjoyed it too. Alright guys, have a great day. Peace.